As they were singing the song, "Where Are You, Christmas?" we're all asking that question sometime. Where is Christmas? Where is joy? Where is the peace that I'm seeking? And I was reminded of a joke, and since it's Joy Sunday, I thought I could tell a couple of jokes today. Fred and Ethel, they were driving down the road after church on a Sunday morning, and Ethel looks across the cab and sees her husband Fred driving the truck, and she's clear on the other side, and she says, "What happened to us? Look at this, there's all this space between us. We used to go on Sunday mornings and we would snuggle up and whisper sweet nothings into each other's ears every Sunday, and we'd be all warm and cuddly. Now look at us. There's a big chasm between us." And then Fred, that was not the punchline. If my punchlines are that bad, we're in trouble. So Fred takes a look at listens to what Ethel has said and takes a look at the cab, looks where he's sitting, looks across the cab where his wife is, and simply says, "I ain't moved." Oh. Where are you, Christmas? Where are you, Christmas? Where are you, joy? Where are you, peace? Guess who moved? Where are you, God? Guess who moved? This omnipresence that we talk about every single Sunday, we cannot be separate from it except in our own mind. And so when we're looking for the light, we're looking for the Christ, we're looking for that essence of God, guess who moved? You know, the talk title of today is Enjoy the Ride. How many of you are really enjoying the ride to enlightenment? Enjoying the ride to discovery every day, every moment, every time we get together. There's a little bit more of God that we discover in each other. A little bit more of the Christ is revealed. That's something to dance, to be giddy about, to celebrate, and to enjoy the ride. I was singing all week long my favorite of that line from the old chestnut Jingle Bells. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. What are you doing while you're dashing through the snow and the drifts and the ups and the downs? You're laughing. You're laughing all the way. Sometimes this spiritual path, we take it so serious. The birthing of the Christ is really, really important business. But unless we are enjoying the ride, there's something wrong. Billy Sunday said this: "Sometimes religious people have just enough religion to make themselves miserable." Have you met those people? He goes on to say in that quote, that means if you're not experiencing joy on your spiritual path, there must be a leak somewhere. And so, "Where are you, Christmas?" could be an indication that I need to do some hole filling. Where are the plugs in my life that need to be inserted to keep the joy from leaking? Another quote said, "People are sometimes so spiritual that they're of no earthly good." Have you heard that? I've met those people. We're laughing all the way home. Thierry de Chardin, the great French mystic, said, "Joy is the..." Can we put that up there? Can we put the quote up there? Wes, are you up there? I like it when you guys read quotes with me. It just makes me feel like we belong to each other. Do we have it? Can I put it on that screen too so I know what we're looking at? Because this is not my best side. Let's read it together. Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Beautiful statement. When you're in that place of blissful jumping and dancing and playing and enjoying life, it's an indication that God is there. When you're not doing that, is it an indication that God's missing? No. So I want to add to this quote. Joy is the infallible sign of the awareness of the presence of God. No matter what's going on the outside, my joy is an indication that I'm connected to something deeper. I'm connected to something way more profound. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm about. And I know I'm connected to that power and the presence. And so no matter how you behave, I'm in joy. No matter how difficult things can be, no matter how dark things might be, the light is already existing within me. It's already been born. The Christ has already been born because I know who I am. I wanted to share a story today. It's a time of stories. The holiday season, I just love to tell stories, and my wife wrote, it's a true story. It has happened in our lives, and it's the story of Norman. And it seemed like there'd be a lot to learn from Norman, so I wanted to share this story, if you will indulge me. It was early November, and rehearsals for the Christmas choir performances were beginning that Tuesday night. Many of the singers were proficient. Many couldn't read music. The director did not audition anyone, but had chosen to welcome anyone who wanted to sing with these words. There are no good voices. There are no bad voices. There is only one's voice, God's voice. Huh! That's the exact quote. Do that with me. There are no good voices. There are no bad voice. There is only one voice, God's voice. Huh! So with that invitation, he had also several singers who sang mostly the wrong notes, some very, very loudly. Even so, he managed to cover those voices and produce an exquisite product. On this night, the choir was high in spirits as we received our new Christmas music. Shortly after we began, someone we had never seen at rehearsal before appeared at the door. He looked confused and uncomfortable, but he accepted the folder of Christmas music and sat down. Norman was a man of small stature, which was emphasized by the stoop of his shoulders. He had a quiet demeanor, and his face showed the pain of having recently lost his wife of 52 years. He had never, ever sung in a choir, but he and his beloved Alice had always enjoyed the music of Christmas and had never missed attending a performance of the choir. A small notice in the bulletin inviting anyone to join us for our Christmas rehearsals had drawn him in. Perhaps it was a divine invitation from his own beautiful angel, Alice. He had no idea how to sing, but just knew he had to go. As the weeks flew by, Norman never missed a rehearsal. Soon he had the words seared into his heart as he listened to the rehearsal tapes each day. That tells you how old this story is. The rehearsal tapes. At least it wasn't the rehearsal 8-tracks. His voice was wobbly and off-key and very, very loud. The director's skills at blending voices was being challenged, but he was confident that love and joy would prevail. So as Norman continued belting out his own unique version of the Hallelujah chorus, the director continued to know there is only one voice, God's voice. Besides the 3 Christmas Eve services, the choir had received a prestigious invitation to sing at the Grotto, a beautiful outdoor Catholic cathedral located in Portland, Oregon, and set at the base of a 100-foot cliff. For over 30 years, select choirs have sung during the Festival of Lights in this beautiful sanctuary. That night it was cold and crisp as we walked from the parking lot in our choir robes, looking like angels in a nativity, readying ourselves to sing tidings of great joy. The grounds were magnificent. This is a picture from those grounds. In their array of lights, there was an air of excitement and magic as we made our way past the outdoor grotto with all its candles and into the acoustic perfection of the cathedral, decked out in fir, pine, and even more candles. The smell of the greens and the incense, the visual delight of the red ribbons and stained glass windows was a heavenly overload of Christmas stimulation. The pews were filled with people who looked as if they were expecting the baby Jesus to show up any minute. A more welcoming crowd could never, ever be imagined. We made our way up the aisle and on to the choir risers, had memorized our music so that we could shine our lights as we sang. I couldn't see what we looked like, but I knew we were smiling as we sang with great expression and dynamics. The sound in the room was heavenly as the notes echoed throughout the hall. We flew through each song with ease and grace, no off-key notes, no wobbly voices, just pure angelic music. And we closed with Mary, Did You Know? And the crowd sat hushed until at last a great swell of applause erupted, leading to a standing ovation. We stood there taking it in and then walked slowly back up the aisle and out the door into the sparkling night. It was then that we heard people whispering, "Who was that man? Who was that man?" Asking all up and down the beautiful Christmas tree lit paths, who was that man? With great love and laughter, we were told that smack dab, right in the middle of the choir, stood Norman, taller than he had ever stood before. Another worldly smile had spread across his face, sending a light that was brighter than any other light in the room. He had been touched by the Christ in that moment. He had transcended his earthly appearance, sending a beam of love to every corner of the space. And although Norman knew every word of every song, he never opened his mouth the entire performance. Not a word, no sound. His mouth never moved. Just pure and simple joy, touching every heart that watched him, perhaps more profoundly than those of us who were singing. Everyone in that space witnessed the Christ, known as Norman. And so, love prevailed. No need for Norman to sing a note. No need for the director to work at harmonizing the voices of humanity in his choir. Norman's music was the joy on his face. He transcended the need for words. He was the experience of Christmas. So in the end, the affirmation was absolutely true. There is only one voice, God's voice, and it is the voice of joy. Ho! Together, ho! Christmas transcends everything. Christmas transcends all the fluff, all the hecticness, all the beauty, all the busyness. It transcends everything. And I want you to channel your inner Christ as Norman right now. With all the stuff that's going on, could it be that you could be the living vessel and portal through which joy is made manifest without speaking a word, without doing anything? We're going to... There you... Hey, Norman, how you been? So, Atiba, this might be difficult for you, but I'm going to ask you to sit in complete silence and to hold your hands out as the angel of the Lord that you are, as the bearer of good tidings, of joy. But keep your eyes open and let the corners of your mouth just wrinkle up just a little bit as you channel the energy of Norman that transcends anything you are, anything you do, anything you have. Let it be on your face, and then let it be spread all over this room silently to all the other angels that are around you. Go ahead and connect. I know you're a little shy. That is Christmas. Nothing more, nothing less. Our master teacher that we celebrate said this in the book of John, chapter 15, verse 11. Together, I have told you these things so that my joy and delight may be in you, and that your joy may be made full and complete and overflowing. Norman expressed the joy that Jesus was talking about. Christmas is a portal through which we follow the example of the one who demonstrated. We walk in his footsteps. I'm in the world, but I will not be defined by it. I'm in the world, but I will not be defined by my grief. I'm in the world, but I will not be defined by my sorrow. I'm in the world, but I will not be defined by my pain. I will have these experiences. I lost my life of 52 years. Yet I will not miss one opportunity to be the living vessel through which transcendence and light can happen, even in the midst of my pain and my grief. Much like Norman, Jesus' presence, and I may go out on a limb here and be accused of blasphemy, but I believe this to be true. His presence was even more profound than his words. We don't celebrate this baby being born necessarily because of his words, but by his consciousness and by his presence. His ability to be joy in the midst spoke volumes, I believe, more than his immortal words And the energy of His Spirit carries us through the darkness today. You see, this isn't just a holiday to be busy and to be stressed and to be crazy, but it is to remember that the essence and the presence that that man brought to the planet still exists here today. You can call it the Christ. You can call it 1,000 things. I'm going to call it Norman today. But it is present. If you look, if you stop, and you hold open your soul and your spirit to the vast miracle of this life, and maybe shut up for a second and go, life's pretty good. Maya Angelou said it beautifully when she said, people will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. As I prepared for this talk, I thought, you know what? There's a lot of words at Christmas. I get to share a lot of them. But the words are not nearly as meaningful as the opportunity to come together and to just be the living vessel of joy for you. And at any given moment, somebody in this room is going to be that vessel for somebody else who needs to be reminded. In the audience, on that Christmas night, in that grotto, Norman was the angel of joy for probably 150, 200 people without speaking a word. That's how powerful the Christ is. All this human stuff that we go through, it's wonderful and it's magnificent, but it does not define you. And so I was reminded of a great singer as I prepared today. You remember Shirley Caesar? The great gospel singer, Shirley Caesar. She had this simple little ditty that I want to invite you in. I want you to stand on your feet and to sing it with me. But say, first of all, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it. And the world can't take it away. Up on your feet. Up on your feet. I want to sing this like you've never sung before. Channel your inner Norman. Put it on your face. Put it in your heart. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Yeah, yeah, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. You got it now? Sing it like you mean it. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. No, 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 no. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Yeah, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it up. All right, notch it up a little bit. High key change. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, yeah, yeah, yeah. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Come on, get your hips involved one more time. This joy that I, it's okay to dance in church. Yeah, 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 yeah. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. No, no, no. This joy that I have, anyway, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Come on, make some noise, Unity North. You can sit down. I'm not done. Every year at this time, I get to remind us all the very distinct difference between happiness and joy. Two completely different energies. And the world is living in a state of suffering, looking for a perpetual happiness. Happiness is circumstantial. I will be happy when I will be happy when you. I will be happy if everything lays out the way I have it on my list. That's a perpetual state of hungry ghost pushing forever the power to the external world that says all this is what's got the power. But joy is very different. Joy is relational, and the world doesn't give it to you. You were born onto this plane of existence with the awareness The deep awareness at the soul level that you are the Christ made manifest, and somewhere you forgot and began to shift the power structure to say, let me give it to the world. You see, it's important to recognize that you cannot have joy taken away from you. You can give it away. And a lot of us are giving it away because joy has become an eternal quest for happiness. Is it possible to be sorrowful and joyful at the same time? Yes. I'm having a human experience of sorrow and darkness and pain, yet I know that I am connected to a presence. If God is for you, what? Nothing, 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 and no one can be against you. Don't we forget that so easily? We forget that. If God is for you, nothing can be against you. So the difference between joy and happiness is, one, happiness is based on effects. And that's an illusion. It's a movie screen. All out here. Joy is based upon cause. And nobody is the cause of your joy. God hasn't moved. Christmas hasn't moved. You are the cause of your reality. And you're either awake, aware, and finding that place of joy even in the midst of your sadness, or you're not. But guess who moved? You know, we have a human tendency. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but a human tendency to specify the certain necessary requirements needed for joy to be in my life. Specify my list. These are the things that need to line up for me to be joyful. I'm sad for you because you've given all the power out to the circumstances, to the world of effects. I'm saying be the cause of Christmas. Where are you, Christmas, standing in my shoes? Where are you, Christmas, living and beating in the chest right here? Where are you, Christmas, in the laboratory between my ears? In the ways that I speak, in the ways that I act, in the ways that I behave, in the ways that I interact with all the other Christed beings on the planet. That's where Christmas is. So choose, and choose wisely. Viktor Frankl, one of my heroes, in World War II had everything ripped from him. But he knew that the world didn't give the joy that he had. The world didn't give it, and the world couldn't take it away. This is what Viktor Frankl has to say in Mankind's Search for Meaning. Together, let's read this. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Let's get the divine feminine in here as well. When it comes to being the light of the world, that the master teacher, the baby that we celebrate at this time of year, said, you are the light of the world. Let's get the divine feminine here. Anne Frank, in the same war. What did Anne Frank have to say? Put the next quote up there, please. Together, look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness. The time has come for Christmas to live so profoundly in our hearts, our minds, and our souls that we quit waiting for the connection to happen when circumstances change out here. We are putting the cart before the horse. The world will change in direct proportion to how you are feeling it, knowing it, living it, breathing it, seeing it on the inside. And I need you to hear that. Christ will not be born on December 25th or in August or whenever historians say it actually happened. It must be born moment to moment, day to day, in our own hearts, in our own awareness, and our own consciousness. And then we will not only walk into the dark places and defy those dark places. No, we are now defining them. I'm saying define your work environment. Define your church environment. Define your family environment. And don't give the power away going, oh my gosh, another family dinner, here we go again. And you walk into it and you've given all the power to those family members and you know who they are. They show up. Before you turn that handle and walk in and say, Merry Christmas, I am a candle, a single candle. Jesus, the man that we celebrate, was a single light, born onto this plane of existence, and says, the world will never be the same as a result of who I am. The light that I know, the Christ awareness that I am, I will not let the world take this away. We are called to follow the example and do the same thing, no matter how difficult the family dinner might be. Yes, there is only one voice, God's voice. And let us clearly know that the truth about ourselves being the Christ is the same truth about everybody. There are no good voices. There are no bad voices. There is only one voice. Underneath all of it. The substance, that which is standing underneath all creation is the good voice, the voice of God. And when you're walking into the midst of the darkness or the difficulty, go, ho! Ho! I am the light of the world. And you didn't give me this joy that I have, and you certainly cannot take it away. I'm saying, find that voice. Know that voice. Live it. Love it. And like Anne Frank, Viktor Frankl, Jesus, Shirley Caesar, and even Norman, let Christmas be a state of being and not an attachment to some sort of condition on the outside. And in doing so, the Christ will be born, even in the most humble of places. You know, I look at this story of Christmas, where this all happened. It was not very conducive to joy. It was certainly not a place that was conducive to giving birth. Nobody would have chosen it. Yet there it was. And a star shone anyway. A light was shining anyway. That's your job. That's my job. So today,